G'day guys, welcome to this episode of Aussie English. I'm Pete and today I'm going to be teaching you 21 ways to greet someone like a native. Let's go. So let's start with the simple ones, guys. Hello. Hello. Hello, mate. Hello. So hello is the kind of greeting that I would use as a native when answering the phone, ring ring. Hello, it's Pete speaking. If I was answering the door and I didn't know who it was, someone's knocked on the door. Hello, who's there? But it's not really the kind of greeting that I would use when talking to someone face to face. Hi. Hi, mate. Hi. Hi again is pretty common. You're going to hear this all the time, especially in countries like America, probably Britain as well. You might hear it from time to time in Australia, but again, it's not the kind of greeting that I would really use with people I know. It might be something that I say to a stranger. If someone bumps into me and I turn around and they were like, "Oh, sorry, how's it going?" I might say, "Oh, hi." Hey, hey mate. Hey, how's it going? Hey. Hey is the kind of greeting that I would use all the time. This is short, sweet, very quick. Hey. Hey, how's it going? Hey. G'day. G'day, mate. G'day. G'day. G'day is another greeting that you guys hear me say all the time. This one, however, is definitely Australian. You're not going to hear this by Americans, you're not going to hear this by people from the UK, at least not with that contracted good. They'll probably say good day if they're really in a formal situation. But in Australia, we say g'day all the time, and especially the more working class you are, as you go out into the countryside, you're going to hear people like Steve Irwin or Crocodile Dundee, that kind of stereotypical Australian saying, "G'day, mate. G'day. G'day." Howdy. Howdy, guys. Howdy. Howdy's another one that you might hear sometimes from Australians, but I think this one is a lot more American, and the only reason that Australians might say it is if they watch a lot of American TV and they hear this all the time, or they're kind of just being a little jovial, a little humorous, like, "Howdy, how's it going? Howdy, guys." Sort of putting on that American accent a little bit, but not in a nasty way. So that's howdy. Howdy, guys. Howdy. All right, before we move on to the really, really good ones, the longer ones, the slightly more difficult ones, I want to get through the fact that we don't say, "How do you do?" This is something that I feel is taught all the time, and I have people saying this to me, but it is incredibly formal. Obviously, if you were incredibly proper, incredibly formal, if you're in the royal family, if you're the Queen of England, you might say to people, "How do you do? How do you do, sir?" But no one is going to say that to you in real life. No natives would ever greet each other and say, "How do you do?" unless they were being sarcastic. It's a lot more natural to hear people saying, "How are you doing? How are you doing? How you doing? How are you doing? Good, mate. How are you doing? How you doing?" And this one's pronounced how ya do-en. How you doing? How you doing? So now that we've covered that, let's move on to the next ones. And these are really common. What's up? Hey, mate. What's up? What is up? Not literally what is up, but more what is up with you? What's going on? What are you up to? What's up? And you'll often hear this contracted to just sup. So I might be like, "Hey mate, what's up?" Or I could be, "Hey mate, sup?" So you're going to hear this all the time. What's up? What's up? Or simply, sup. Sup, mate. What have you been up to lately? What have you been up to lately? So what have you been up to? What have you been doing? What have you been up to lately? And you're going to hear this contracted all the time to what you been up to. What ya been up to? What you been up to? What you been up to, mate? G'day, mate. What you been up to? What you been up to? And this is just another way of saying, what have you been doing? What you been up to? Another really common one is, what's going on? What's going on? Not much. What's going on with you? What's going on, man? What's going on, mate? And you'll often hear, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? You'll often hear this contracted to just scoing on. Sco and on. So we've just taken what out of the equation, left the S, and then we've got go and on. What's going on? What's going on, mate? What's the goss? What's the goss, mate? Not much. What's the goss with you? What about you? What's the goss? What's the goss? Goss in this case is short for the word gossip, as in rumors. What's the news? What are the secrets about people? What's the goss? What's the gossip about you? What's the goss? What's new? G'day, mate. What's new? What's new? What's new, man? What's new is just literally what is new with you. What is the news? What's new? Can you tell me something I don't know or that I didn't know when I last saw you? What's new? What's the news? What's the news? And this often gets contracted to what's news. What's news, mate? Not much. What about you? What's news? So you've got what's new with no S at the end, and then you've got what's news. And when someone says to you, what's news, they're asking you to tell them what your news is. Like you're watching the news on TV and you're hearing all of the new information for the day, they want to know what your new information is. What's news? Tell me what's new with you. Tell me what's news. What's your news? What's news? What's been happening? Hey man, how's it going? What's been happening? What's been happening? What has been happening? And this often gets contracted all the way down from what has been happening to what's been happening. What's been happening? And this is a lot similar to what's the news, what's the goss, what's your news. I'm asking you about what's been happening in your life. What's been happening? Another really common one, and this is one that you should probably focus on out of all of them in here, all of these different greetings, this is a really common one that's easy to remember and that you're going to be able to use a lot and hear a lot in Australia. How's it going? How's it going? How's it going, mate? How are you? How's it going, mate? How is it going? Getting contracted down to how's it going? How's it go-en? How's it going? Another one similar to how's it going is how are you going? How are you going? How are you going, mate? Yeah, not bad. How are you going, mate? How are you going? And this gets contracted down to just how ya go-en. How you going? How are you? How are you? How you going? How are ya? Hey mate, how are ya? How are you, mate? How are you? Are you good? How are you? Tell me how you are. Are you good? But this one gets contracted down to how are ya? How are ya? So that again, that is an incredibly common one. How are ya? How are ya? Learn that one as well as how's it going and how are ya? How are ya? How are you, mate? How's it going, mate? How are ya? How's things? How's things on your end? How's things, dude? How's things? How is things? This one's probably incorrect grammatically because things is plural and you're saying how is things, but all the same, it's said a lot. How's things? How's things? This is similar to what's news, what's goss, what's been happening, how are your things, what are the things like on your end, tell me about your things. How's things? And then obviously we've got the grammatically correct version, how are things? How are things? Dude, how are things? Haven't seen you in ages. Yeah, good to see you too, man. How are things? How are things? We should catch up. How are things? How are things? How's it hanging? How is it hanging? Dude, how's it hanging? Yeah, not too bad, mate. What about you? How's it hanging? How are you, mate? How's it hanging? Hanging like you were hanging from a tree. How's it hanging? This is also very common. And again, with that how's it turns into how's it, how's it, how's it hanging. So it gets contracted down from how is it hanging to how's it hanging. And getting to the last one here, guys, how have you been? Mate, how have you been? How have you been? Have you been well, mate? How have you been, mate? And this is one that also gets contracted even further. We get rid of the of from have that's on how, and we just say how ya been? How you been? Dude, I haven't seen you in ages. How you been? Dude, what about you? How you been? How you been? That's it, guys. There's at least 21 in there. They should be pretty easy. There's a few interesting pronunciation things going on there, but definitely go back over it. Have a look at the way that I've outlined the real pronunciation of these phrases and focus more on using those kinds of colloquial greetings and colloquial ways of saying, how are you? How are you going? How are you doing? What's going on? All of that sort of stuff. You'll sound a lot more native and people are going to respond really differently, I think you'll find, than if you were to use things like hello and how do you do. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. Do you already use some of these in your day-to-day spoken English? Comment below and I'll catch you later, guys. Hope you're well. G'day, goodbye, see ya.